Chevron 1, coded.
For my ally is the Force, and the powerful ally it is. Life creates it, makes it grow.
You failed, Your Highness. I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
Cry hammer, and let's set the dogs of war.
Chevron 2 is coded.
Conan, what is best in life? Crush your enemies, see them driven before you, to hear the lamentation of your women.
It's all in the reflexes.
I'll also say that you're heavy into martial arts, Tai Chi and all that killer stuff. I suppose we have to register you as a lethal weapon.
Chevron 3 encoded.
And somebody ought to belt you in the mouth. But I won't. I won't. The hell I will.
Chevron 4 encoded.
Do you expect me to talk? No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die.
Chevron 5 encoded.
You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Chevron 6 encoded.
That's the line you can, monkey boy.
Great Scott.
Back off, man. I'm a scientist.
Shall not pass!
I thought I'd die fighting side by side with Alpha.
What about side by side with a friend?
A day may come when the courage of men fails, when we forsake our friends and break all bonds of fellowship. But it is not this day.
Chevron 7 is locked.
Howdy and hail to everybody. Welcome back to Saturday Night Drive-In, where we're all here. I barely got here in time. I'm a little late today, but we're here. We're rested, especially in Jed's case, and are so rested. We are ready to keep. We're just going to keep talking Lord of the Rings. We keep talking Lord of the Rings. We're picking up where we left off last week. Before we get started, though, let's just say hi to everybody. As the well-rested man, still a ginger, but well-rested. Jed, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm not sure how those two things are related to each other, but I am still here, still on my feet, emotionally and physically speaking or whatnot.
What
I'm too tired to make a. I'm not spiritually, no. I've been on my ass spiritually for a very, very long time now. But it's great to be here talking about an incredible movie, and I can't wait to jump into it and have some fun, talk about something positive for a change.
Yes, and that's why we're here. This show is about taking a break from the constant assault on the things we love to talk about the things we love when they were still pure and not being assaulted and savaged by the SJW woke crowd.
Say
and back
assaulted one more time.
Assaulted.
Assaulted.
No, you just said it a few times.
I know. I did. I knew I was doing it, so I just said I was going to keep. I just,
you just embraced it.
Embraced it. I knew I was repeating myself.
Stop embracing what you say, Dermy. Adam can embrace what he says because it's not too weird. But back taco is not something you should be embracing.
Oh my God, back taco has now made an appearance on this show.
Back taco's got to be making.
He said it first, Adam. You didn't hear, but he did say it first.
I know. Of course, he said it first. He's always going to say
all
it
he's
first.
thinking about.
Yeah, quite.
Yeah, Dermy. It's just, God damn it! I can't get rid of you, can I?
No, you really can't. I'm like a disease that just keeps coming back.
Oh,
hey, Chad, weren't we talking about Dermy and diseases just a little bit ago?
I mean, perpetually, but
oh, you guys know you tolerate me.
Yes, that's the best way to put it. We tolerate you, but happy to have you back here. In all seriousness, thanks for being here today. And Mustang, who's going to keep us anchored in lore when we stray off the path. I spoke to you this morning. How you been doing since then?
I was assaulted twice today. Once because Jed admits he puts Parmesan on burritos.
In burritos.
I don't eat burritos, so what do I care?
And the second is I had a dancer with a hook on her arm again. Can we figure out who might have done that?
A dancer with a... I mean, I did not put it on this time. You were supposed to take it off. I guess you didn't take off the dance with the hook.
So this proves the theory. You are stealth logging in and doing
No, I'm
shit.
not stealth logging in. I swear to God.
Well, who knows what you did after you passed out last night?
You know what?
Yeah, because it said you logged on at 4 o'clock this morning.
Did it actually say I logged on at 4 o'clock this morning?
Yeah, because as the owner, I can actually see when you log in.
I don't. I swear to God, I did not play last night.
Oh my God, he is sleep gaming.
I might be.
He's sleep gaming, and he doesn't remember doing.
I legitimately did not log on. I swear to God. If I did, I must have been drunk as a kite, and I don't remember it.
Drunk? You mean high as a kite, drunk as a skunk?
Whatever.
Okay. All right.
Wasted as a centipede.
Yes.
Why'd you bring up the centipede? There is no place on this channel.
I didn't even bring up the centipede.
I know.
I'm
looking at Mustang. Yeah. No. She knows no place on this show.
18%, 18 degrees.
Oh my God.
It was 15 degrees. 20
Yeah. Thank you, Clinton. How the hell does a kite
18.
get drunk? Exactly. But this is Dermy, so who knows? And hail and howdy to chat. Welcome to being here on Saturday Night Drive-In. We're always glad to have you guys here. We are happy to have you choosing us for the live portion of this. This will be up on replay tomorrow. But we're happy to have you guys here. What is always now a busy Saturday night, and we hope you enjoy the rest of the show. And as always, understand if we don't always respond to what you're saying, we're busy deep in the discussion because that's how this show rolls. Anyway, all right, let's get into it. To Two Towers. Two Towers, to me, I think it's my favorite of the three, personally. Mm-hmm. I think it's my favorite of the three. It has really some of my favorite scenes of all time in the trilogy. And that's where we're going to go again today. We're going to start with favorite scenes because I felt that was a good launching point last week. And it got us talking in a bunch of different directions. But what else can I say before we get going to this? This was a feat, I feel, the feeling of all of these. It was a feat of movie-making history with the way they film these movies. Back to back. These people understood we're going to take a chunk of our immediate lives and we're going to park ourselves in New Zealand and we're going to make these movies. We're going to commit to making these movies and doing them well. I mean, you feel that, don't you guys, when you're watching? You feel the cohesiveness of it all.
It felt like they were all together they were all together, but it felt like they had a mission and they wanted to achieve that mission at all costs.
Yeah. And you just get a continuous movie. And that's why it's so hard to stop watching these movies when you start, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Because you feel it. There was no year break. They took maybe a week off to catch their breath, and then it's okay. Into part 2, into part 3. Yeah. We're going to keep going.
Well, it's just like it is in the books because it was originally intended just to be one long book, and publishers that kind of forced his hand to split into 3. I mean, he agreed to it, obviously, but it was originally just going to be The Lord of the Rings. So it is one story. It's just parts. You can more call this Lord of the Rings Part 1, Part 2, Part 3. It's one story. And so that's why, you have to watch all 10 hours of it at once.
Isn't it 12 hours?
Extended? No.
Extended is...
The fourth one is 4 hours. The other two are about 3.5.
3.5, yeah.
Yeah.
Either way, that's why it's an experience when you do it. When I remember when I got my previous versions to these right here, to my extended.
You mean the inferior versions?
No, they were extended too.
Oh,
I just had them on DVD. I remember when I first got them though, and I opened them up and I did watch them all in one day. When I first got them, the original DVD ones, and I had nice ones too. They were nice covers with a see-through plastic on the front. You opened up, it was unfolded. They were really nice ones. And then I got these, and those went away because I had the Blu-ray. Now, what do I need DVD for? But it's a good one. Mustang, you go away to a happy place when you sit down and watch all these movies, don't you?
Well, yeah.
That's all I got from you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, there is no secret. I mean, like I said last week, how many times have been called out, hey, turn down, the music in the background? It is some place that I enjoy usually listening to, and it's not just these, it's all the books involved. Everything Tolkien's written, and another one, his Christmas letters to his kids. That's always special to me.
But it's wholesome, and it's fulfilling. And you watch this stuff, and you feel complete when you're done. You've been entertained. You have escaped from our humdrum, sometimes very dreary reality we currently live in, and you come back thinking you're a little hopeful when you're done watching all these, aren't you? Because that's what it's supposed to be, hopeful.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm not black pilled to anything. I've always taken the white pill, but yeah, it says that there still might be somebody that can produce something and do something because Peter Jackson is still around and his team is still around.
Well, even from a narrative perspective, when it comes to hope, it was something that Mustang and I were actually talking about a little bit ago on my gaming stream, is the idea of nihilism that has become so prevalent in fantasy and just entertainment in general these days. Is Lord of the Rings, from the surface, looks like it should be a very nihilistic story when you say, oh my God, we're about to get wiped out. Even The Witcher seems very nihilistic from a first approach, but that's what makes the whole full aspects of it so fulfilling and so inspiring, because even in the darkest of times, even when Sauron's spreading through Mordor, even when Saruman has got Rohan on the back leg, there's still hope. There's still going to be the first light on the fifth day. And so you need to balance out the nihilism with hope to make it impactful. Whereas Game of Thrones never understood that balance. It was always
that's one of the reasons I never could get into Game of Thrones, is just the nihilism of it. Everybody there, it's all dark and gray, and there's no heroes. I could never. I need a hero.
I need a hero.
Oh my God! I thought that was Jeremy for a second before I.
You say that, and now I'm just thinking about Mario, because they had that.
Me
Mario.
too. Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, but here's the but the thing is, with the idea of a hero, I'm going to make a statement as we go through this about who I think the real hero is after this movie. I don't think it's controversial, but I'm going to make that when we get going.
Okay.
All right. So let's do it. Let's do it. All right. Favorite scenes. We're gonna go. We're doing what we did last week.
Don't
start with our favorite scene.
I could do mine.
Well, I was going to start with Jed, so we'll start with Mustang instead of Mustang's right. Mustang, give me your first favorite scene.
It is the scene with Gandalf because it's the hope. I mean, Jed led us right into it. I was going to go there before you even brought this up. It is the hope of Gandalf coming in on that light.
That's mine too. That's my number one. I love it when Aragorn looks up, and then there's just Gandalf standing there with the sun rising behind us. That is an incredible moment. And then the dialogue of that, King Theoden stands alone, and then here comes Éomer, not alone. Rohirrim! And it's a boom, reinforcements, bitches. Here it comes.
I love the Rohirrim.
What was great, the best about that scene is the movie itself. It took you away about forgetting that until that happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it just tried to distract you so thoroughly that it came out of nowhere, even though you knew it was going to happen.
Mm-hmm. That's my number one. That is my number one scene. That's my number one favorite. I feel the surge and the music in that moment as it gets uplifting when they lead the charge, and it gets uplifted more, and then when the sun crests the hill and the Uruks are blinded, and it's just that uplift music, and nothing can stop that charge from just plowing through their ranks. And yes, that's my number one too. Damn it, Mustang. That's my number one too. I love it. It's powerful, and it's the hero moment. I'm going to say this now. All three of my favorite moments, I'm going to say today, they're all Gandalf related in this movie. They're all Gandalf, even though he's really in this the least of all three movies. I think his scenes that I'm going to say as we go through this, they're my favorite scenes in this movie. They all involve Gandalf. He's all centered around him. But I love that. You're right. That hope, that relief. I love save the day moments. Call me a sap. Call me a nerd for liking that. Call me having a weakness in terms of that kind of storytelling. But I love it. I love save the day moments. because this is a hero. These are fantasy hero stories. Somebody's supposed to come in and save the day, right, Jeremy?
Yeah, and it goes kind of to one of my favorite moments, the last March of the Ents.
Yes,
it's a great one.
Oh, I love that moment because you see
wizard should know better.
Yeah, you see Treebeard, and he's. I like the Ents, and I can't explain it. There's something about them that I just like. How they're they just want to do their job.
You like them because they're a big, thick piece of wood?
Jesus Christ, Jed! I didn't even go there. That's all you. But they just want to be left alone for the most part. They just want to tend to the trees. They want to make sure that their home is safe. They don't want to deal with the outside world. And as Treebeard gets tricked by Merry and Pippin to just go walk over to Sauron's area, see what's going. Isengard, see what's going on over there. And when he comes out and he sees what Saruman. No, I get him mixed up. Saruman has done. Into this thing that he loves, this thing that he cares about, and it just builds up the rage, and you get him yelling all the Trents coming, and you hear him, Trents are going to war. This is the last march of the Ents, and you're expecting they're not going to make it back, but they're sure as hell. They're gonna take out Saruman.
Well, you think about it like this: Isengard was basically defenseless.
Mm-hmm.
Saruman sent his entire force to Helm's Deep, and I want to talk about that force when we get to really talk about Helm's Deep. He sent his entire force. It was basically a skeleton defense force of regular old orcs, maybe some goblins in there too. Who knows? That's all that was there. They were going to be no match for what looks like several dozen pissed off Ents.
He was never expecting the Ents. The Ents weren't warlike. They weren't people that would go battle. Yeah.
Let's talk about them. Let's talk about Saruman for a moment.
Hold on. Can I do mine?
Yeah. Oh yeah. So you're ready. Okay.
Well, I was ready from the beginning. I just
you didn't like it that I was going to make you do it.
Yeah. I didn't like to have to choose. But something that Mustang and I had talked about is every time I watch the trilogy, inversely to Adam, Two Towers is always my third favorite, but it does also have some of my favorite moments of the trilogy as well. I have to do two honorable mentions, but there is a favorite, but I had to do two honorable mentions. Sam's speech at the end, that is my hopeful moment. I get chills, and it's my favorite speech of the trilogy. That moment is just phenomenal. And from a book reader's perspective, because I don't know if Adam's super familiar with the books, and I know Jeremy can't read.
Superficially.
But the first scene with Frodo and Sam after he wakes up from his dream is word for word from the book, and I always appreciate it. The one where they're coming down on the Elven rope in the extended edition, and they talk about the salt that Sam has, and I just love that moment where it's like we see Sam's priorities. It's always going to be about the Shire for him, and it's very, very cutely done. But my favorite moment from the Two Towers is actually one that I don't think any other person that you could possibly bring on this show would share this for me or with me. But I'm a sucker for characters and interesting character motivations and character dilemmas. So my favorite scene is actually the conversation between Aragorn and Éowyn in the Hall of Edoras when she's talking about her greatest fear. I love the way that she presents it. The dialogue is just so on point, and the idea that this woman is more afraid of growing old without a legacy and not being good enough to be locked in a cage is so much more frightening to her than her whole people getting pillaged and killed, and even her own death. And I love that concept, and it fits so well with Éowyn that it's just such a solid scene for me. The dialogue just really kills it for me, and the delivery of What's Her Bucket is just beautiful. I love when she's just like looking at Aragorn. It's a close up on her face, and she's just talking when use and old age claims us. I love that moment.
Let's talk about Éowyn then. This is the introduction of Éowyn in this movie, and of course Éowyn becomes so key going forward in so many important ways. But again, we're going to play by the rules. We're going to try and stay in this movie, and now we can go backwards to Fellowship if we want to, since we passed it. But let's talk about Éowyn. What's her name? Shit, I just had it. As Jed was saying it, I was suffering through my head. Rosamund? No, crap. I can't. I'm not settled yet, so I have not categorized everything in my brain. Well, Eowyn is an interesting insertion into all this because at this point, our only female representation has been Arwen, but she is now removed from the story proper. She's back in Rivendell.
Mm-hmm.
But Eowyn now becomes a portal to noble women, I would say, in this world, and the expectations, and it's going to carry on into Return of the King. So let's go around the table and discuss Eowyn. We'll start with Mr. Loreman Mustang. What are your feelings on Eowyn's portrayal in Two Towers?
Lore-wise, it's good, but story-wise, and I'm taking out the books for it, better story in the movie than the book.
Really?
Yes, better. They did her better in the movie than they did in the books because she came to life a lot better, or a lot more. She, in many ways, is one of the key heroes of this entire thing. Without her, the race still survive.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, she's very pivotal to the story, and they showed it correctly. She's very strong-willed, and when the scene you brought up about her legacy, it's a little bit of a problem because I know the books, I know what her legacy is, so that scene wasn't as impactful to me, but it still had impact. And for somebody that knows the books to be impacted by it, that shows how good Peter Jackson did making it.
She comes off immediately. I like in the movie where we're introduced her and you see the trap that she is in. She needs to be there for Theoden, but she's under the thumb of Grima and Sauron at the same time. And there's nothing she can do because immediately the one person she can she can count on in this situation, Aemir, he's exiled.
Mm-hmm.
He's exiled, and suddenly she's alone. And when Prince dies, Theogrid, is that his name? Theogrid. When Prince Theogrid dies, she's got no one to turn to. And I really love it how after he dies, after Theoden, who's still in control of Saruman, she left bereft, and she exits the Hall of Edoras and looks out as I love it when the flag rips off.
So good. I love that moment. I was about to bring it up.
And it's just floating through the air, and she's witness to Aragorn's party arriving. And then Aragorn, it's a beautiful, seamless. Again, this is Peter Jackson's brilliant directing. It's a beautiful transition of her watching the flag rip away, which is supposed to, in my perspective, symbolize the failing kingdom of Rohan right there. Because as Gandalf says prior to this, it is weak and ready to fall, and the banner is just torn off. And then it goes from her watching it to Aragorn watching it. And this leads to my next favorite scene. I love it when Aragorn and his party arrive and make their presence known.
Mm-hmm.
And they get in there. When Gandalf's plan to free Theoden from Saruman, I love that scene. When it goes to proper, when he reveals himself as Gandalf the White, and all around him you've got Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli just beat the ever-loving shit out of Grima's thugs. Fisticuffs, not weapons. They're just beating the crap out of him. Legolas is a Bruce Lee backhand. Gimli's just kicking the crap. Aragorn's throwing. I love that scene. That whole composition of that scene. There's so much going on, but you're still centered on Gandalf, and you can still watch what's going on and take it all in all its awesome without losing the centerpiece of Gandalf being badass. I will cast you out, Saruman. You did not kill him. You will not kill me. You will not kill him. I love that scene. It's just that's the moment of Gandalf where we understand, okay, he's powered up from Fellowship.
I love that scene as well, but it's mainly because it introduces my favorite character in the whole trilogy, King Theoden.
He's so strong.
Oh, I love him.
Yeah.
I love him to death. He's the man I would ride into battle with.
And it's great because also Bernard Hill is freaking based as hell.
Mhm.
So it makes it even better.
Well, and I know considering how you like to do these, we'll talk about the music more later, but the music in both Eowyn's flag scene and the throne room scene is just on point.
We might as well bring it up. The Rohan theme.
It might be my favorite track,
I
and that's
think I like it better than the Gondor theme.
I definitely like it more than the Gondor theme. Concerning Hobbits is pretty good. Like that one might win out over the Rohirrim theme, but the Rohirrim thing, just listening to the flag break away and
so the Rohirrim are just my favorite. I love the Rohirrim period. Nothing. I could just have that Rohirrim movie now, and I'll be happy.
It's funny when you think about it. The Rohirrim, it's just their army it's a cavalry army, and that just it flies in the face of regular strategic tactics. When you think about it, as your army is entirely cavalry on its own, it's never really going to completely work. But you're going to need other armies with other units to work with. But in this movie, whenever they arrive, it just works because the opposing armies are not prepared for it.
I'm waiting till the next one, but they have no real fear. They're gonna ride into battle and they're gonna give it their all.
Now for wrath, now for ruin.
Well, it's a Julius Caesar battle plan. There was no surviving. That is why Caesar won in Gaul, is because he basically made it so that there's no survive. You either win or die.
But they're more than happy to win or die for their king. They love their king. The Rohirrim, everything about Rohan is centered around family. It's centered around what they care about, and they love their They love their king so much. They love their land so much that they'll die for their land. They'll die for their king. And when Theoden was under the control of Saruman, it showed that they loved him so much, but they were hurt because he's in this awful place. He's sick. He's corrupted, and they can't get through to him. So when he exiles, and I can never remember the dude's name, but when they exile him,
Grima.
When Grima, prior to that, the leader of the Rohirrim.
Oh, Aemir.
Yeah, Aemir. When they exile Aemir, it's a big call out because it's when they show that Theoden isn't Theoden right now. Something's wrong, and you're having issues there. Theoden is one of the key parts to the whole Rohirrim, but they love their land so much that they'll do even things that they don't agree with.
I find Rohan just an interesting kingdom because their capital, Edoras, is just a little hall on top of a hill.
But it's so beautiful. It's so
I don't know.
Well, it's something that was actually brought up in God of War Ragnarok. It's not a spoiler. I know, Adam, you haven't made it there yet, but there's this conversation that people had about why Asgard doesn't look like it does in the Thor movies, for example. It's not big, epic, grand scale. And there's a line in it that said, if you need to show that you're a god, are you really a god? Kind of doing a little Game of Thrones thing. And that's I applied that when I heard it to this to the Rohirrim. They don't need to show that they're a superpower like Gondor does with Minas Tirith. They're just, we're who we are. We have no delusions of grandeur. We know we're powerful, but we don't need anything fancy. We don't need rich castles. We don't need fancy things. The throne room at Edoras is nothing special, but it could be if you wanted to. We've seen Helm's Deep. They have the resources to make something like Minas Tirith.
Yeah.
But they just they don't need to.
I think the weakness of Rohan maybe is the fact that it's so spread out because when we get to Return of the King, we're going to see that weakness. They can't get they don't have enough spears. They have trouble getting their spears.
Yeah.
So they're so spread out that it's hard.
That's even evident in this movie with the two children who have to ride out and warn them that the Uruk-hai are coming. It's like they're so spread out that they don't even know the Uruk-hai are on their doorstep.
Yeah.
Those villages can get
Eomer does, but he's been exiled, and he's just he's basically a bunch of, for lack of a better term, a band of Ronin who are now roaming the land, just trying to smash these guys.
They're just trying to keep their land safe.
They're going to roam the perimeter and just try and crush them where they can find them. But Rohan is just they are the heroic army in this series. Because when we get to Return of the King, we're going to talk about how basically broken Gondor is.
Well, there's a lot of comparison between Boudica from English history and the Rohirrim. That's really, if you look at it, that's probably who they're most based on.
Well, there's that, but also in the World Wars, I always saw it as maybe this is me reading too much into it, but as a potential metaphor for England and France in both World Wars. The French army were incredibly broken in the face of the Germans, and it was always the English coming in, riding in to save the day in glorious fashion.
Mm-hmm. God, I just love the Rohirrim. I just love them all. If I could go into Middle Earth, that's where I would be. Rohan.
Well, because that movie's coming out, I'm going to tell you that they keep leaking. They say it's their leaks. They're not leaks. They're putting the pictures out. If you want to see some beautiful artwork, go look at some of the pictures that have been released for it.
I'm waiting. I want to sit down and watch that movie. But that's not the movie we're talking about. We're talking about Two Towers.
Jeremy, keeping us on track.
That's the world's coming to an end.
Yeah. Well, yeah. You took the words out of my mouth there. We might as well continue. Let's go to the next round of favorite scenes. And I already said my next. That was the Edoras scene. Jeremy, what's your next favorite scene?
So my next favorite scene is actually, it'd be Right Out With Me.
Okay.
It's similar to like everybody else's, peeking the crest, but I like in the hall when Theoden, he doesn't realize
broken.
that.
He's broken.
He's broken. He doesn't realize that Gandalf is coming. He doesn't know that whole plan, but it's right out with me. We're all going to die. Might as well go out in a blaze of glory. And that's one of the reasons why if this man told me to go do something, I'm going to go do it, because he would sacrifice his life for a blaze of glory for his people.
It's not that. That scene sets up, and there's no way to do this without going into the final movie. That is why he went to Gondor, because Aragorn is king.
Mm-hmm.
He was going with him, not to save the steward. He was going with the king.
Well, let's since Jeremy, I think you opened the door. Let's talk about the battle at Helm's Deep, which is considered one of the most famous battles in fantasy history at this point, with everything about it and brought to life on the screen. It is the backbone of this movie. Everybody, because I will say this, for me, whenever we have to break away from Helm's Deep to watch Frodo and Sam dick around, the movie does drag for me a little bit. I want to go back to Helm's Deep. I want to, because I will say this, I said it before, I'm going to say it again, I'm more interested in Aragorn's party than Frodo.
I skipped most of Frodo's scenes in this because
I used to.
I didn't like
past.
Frodo. In the extended cut, they're okay. There's some that I really do like, but in this, I don't care about Frodo and Gollum and all that. Even though there's some cool scenes there,
we'll come back to that, because that's where this movie loses the slight points for me in my final score. Is just that whenever it's Frodo, it drags for me because I don't respect Frodo, and that's a me thing. But the Helm's Deep, Mustang. As the lore book guy, how did it feel the first time watching Helm's Deep come to life for you?
Too long.
Too long?
What?
Too long.
Explain. And Jed, you may counter.
Okay. Because I am a book fan, Tolkien hated battles. He hated using them as a plot device to carry a movie.
I mean,
and
he
its entire
the Battle of 5 Armies at the Hobbit. He skipped the whole thing.
It was too long. It did not. It was long. It was boring. It was. I'm sorry. The shield surfing was a absolute joke.
That's hero moment. I always call that Legolas triggers hero moment. Hero meter activated.
I
Kick Mustang. Kick Mustang.
I can't believe we found an instant in the conversation where I vehemently disagree with Jeremy and Adam in a single moment, and then a minute later I disagree with Mustang because I love the Frodo and Sam bit. So you're all saying that you want to skip that, hurt me, and then Mustang comes up with it's like, yeah, Helm's Deep sucks. I'm like, fuck.
I love it.
I like.
I might like it better than Palinor
just...
Fields.
Okay, so I love this. May be going against the professor's belief in this kind of stuff, and that's a legitimate point. I love watching battles because I try to be a student of battles when I watch them. I try to watch strategy. I try to understand it so that I can better represent battles when I write. I try to understand what I'm looking at so I can give a more realistic moment. And I believe, my personal belief, that battles are necessary for important moments. You can't have them all the time. If you're doing a franchise series, have one or two really good ones, and that's it. Don't have constant big battles of armies every time. I can say right now in my series, there's really right now, the way I've redone it, one major battle, one major arm battle. Everything else is kind of going to be, you're not going to get it. It's one time. Like maybe a second one if I decide to go back to an original idea for that. But I believe in big battles because it's a chance for hero moments. It's a chance for just epic swings of events that go around. And it's also great vehicles for great events. And watching Helm's Deep, I love watching our three heroes, Aragorn, Legolas, Gimli. I love watching them be heroes and showing what heroes can do to tip the scale in a battle. And I like, until what we're talking about before, I like the battle for me allows watching the ebb and flow of the emotion of everybody up until they blow the wall. Theoden, yeah. What is that all? Is that all you have for me, Saruman? Is that the extent of your reach? Is that all you can do? And then it blows up, and that shatters his worldview. The impregnable fortress of Helm's Deep has just been laid waste by technology you didn't know was there, by alchemic technology you were not aware of, because Saruman cheated.
It also goes to it goes to the differences in styles, and something that the professor vehemently hated: industrialism. He hated the idea of basically mass production and everything like that, because it took away from the natural beauty of the world. And you can see that in their armor, and you can see that in how they presented each other, where the Rohirrim are very more rustic and everything. The elves are very more elegant.
They're also professional. The elven army, even though I know that's not book accurate, their arrival, that's the arrival of a professional army.
At least they didn't bring Arwen into the fight like the original plan. That would have gone a little far, even for me, because I think it's very narratively satisfying to have Aragorn and Arwen not see each other again until the end of Return of the King.
See, the problem with it is, one, you got the elves. Two, you've got shield sliding. You've got dwarf tossing.
I don't have a problem with.
I don't have a problem with shield sliding or dwarf tossing. It's a nice little bit of humor.
I don't have a problem with.
You want a better battle? The battle in the Kingdom of Heaven is 100 times better for me than this battle ever will be.
Orlando Bloom's in both, isn't he?
Yeah, but Kingdom of Heaven, that's a historical movie of real events. This is a fantasy, and therefore those are two completely separate battle categories as far as I'm concerned. Therefore, when a fantastical thing like Legolas sliding down on the shield, which to me, like I said, I've for 20 years, I always say hero mode activated. Because that's Legolas, hero mode.
I can see that as believable. My biggest problem with the shield surfing is actually something more in the meta sense that comes later. People use that to justify all the crazy shit Legolas does in the Hobbit trilogy. It's like shield surfing is nowhere equivalent to jumping on rocks falling through the air. Like, I'm sorry, they're not even in the same category.
They use shield surfing and him grabbing the neck of a horse to try to justify that. No. He's just elegant. That's all he is. He can't do freaking meta stuff. I can't remember.
I'm fine with that. And the dwarf tossing, that's just a little. I like the humor. It breaks the tense a little bit, the tense nature, and it's also it's a callback to Fellowship. Nobody tosses a dwarf, or toss me. Just don't tell the elf.
There's some narrative stuff there, like you're talking about, and it does make sense since Aragorn is slightly more strong than the average man. So I don't find that one very cringe. My biggest problem with Helm's Deep is the elves showing up, and I don't think they even in the extended edition, justify the overindulgent death scene of Haldir.
Like that one. It's overindulgent, but I still feel sad when it happens.
It's very, very well done. I just wish that at least in Fellowship we would have at least had a conversation between Aragorn and Haldir. I think that would have been made it more impactful.
But what I was trying to get at, when you compare the armors, the penetration, it shows the differences in style. And shut up, Jed. It shows the differences in style and how the bad guys have to mass produce very nasty, ugly looking stuff that you don't know what's coming.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Jeremy, you've just stepped into something I wanted to talk about when it comes to Helm's Deep, but I want to finish the comment about what I feel works with it. It also, to me, we get great character moments in the lead up and during. At this point, throughout the movie, we've gotten the great growth between Legolas and Gimli as no longer antagonistic, but friends.
I hate to do this. It's jumping towards the end, but when he's sitting on the orc,
well,
with the axe in its head.
Well,
yeah,
I love it.
It's my axe embedded in his nervous system. I mean, but that's my point. Now, before the battle starts, when the Uruks are marching forward and Gimli's kind of just can't do a damn thing until they start to do the wall breach. He's just going, come on. But before that, he goes, what? I can't see. And Legolas goes, would you like me to get you a stool? And one movie ago, Gimli would have gone basically F you. Now he just goes, ah! He just laughs at it. He's like, yeah, okay, I guess.
Well, this is also when they start doing the counting.
Yeah, now it's the count. We're the friendly competition. And now, of course, I've always felt that it's not fair because Legolas, he's ranged first. He's always going to get a massive lead because he can
right at the gate,
boop, boop, and until the melee portion of a battle begins, Gimli can just stand there with his thumb up his ass, can't do anything. But I love their relationship at this point because it starts off earlier in the movie when Éomer and his Rohirrim surround him and he threatens Gimli. And Legolas says, you touch him. Basically, I'll kill you. I'll kill you before you can touch him. It's like, whoa, that's a difference now from last movie where they're yelling at each other. And I love that. I love the growth of that. But Jeremy brought up a great point a moment ago that I think Gandalf's plan aside to get Éomer and get his cavalry there in time to help out aside. I think one of the reasons the Uruks were destined to fail, there's no commander on the field there.
The closest thing they have is that the one that's up there yelling.
And he's not a commander. That's just I think I do just.
That's just the hype man.
Yeah, excellent way to put that, Jed. That's just the guy who's going to hype you up like, all right, let's go. I feel that they never had a chance because think about how many commanders are on the field on Helm's Deep side. Aragorn, who, thanks to Extended Edition, we get the info that he is 83 and he has been
86.
to war
86, sorry. 87.
He's been to war longer than Theoden has been to war.
Mm-hmm.
Theoden, I have fought many wars, Master Dwarf. I know how to defend my keep. Legolas, thousands of years old, capable of fighting in many battles. Gimli, no slouch himself. Many people who can take command of the rabble that is Helm's Deep and make change. I mean, how many times in the battle do you see Aragorn or Theoden make a change in tactics to survive longer?
Several times.
Whereas the Uruks, we're just keep marching forward. We're going to Zerg this shit. That's all. It's just Zerg it.
That's all they can do. But before we move on, I had to share this. I actually saw this today, and it's the greatest thing ever since we were talking about the counting a moment ago.
Yeah.
It's the best joke I've heard in a long time, and it's so cringe, but I'm going to tell it anyway.
Okay.
Your mama's so fat when Legolas killed her, Gimli counted her as 2.
I like it. Considering I grew up in the era where that kind of humor was born, your mama jokes, that was my era of bad cringe.
It's terrible, humor. But I love it.
But it works. It works.
I love that it's Gimli that counts her as 2. Not. He's like, all right, I'll give you that one. That
must be one fat. That must be
because he would only count one elephant.
Yeah, that still only counts as one. But so I think they were doomed to fail, and then of course you have Gandalf coming in with his plan. I mean, it's a thin plan. It counts on can they hold out. But I think that shows the trust in Aragorn. The defenses must hold. And Aragorn did everything possible. And to the very point is we're going to ride out and we're going to buy a little more time because he knew right before that he sees sun rising. Wait for my coming on the dawn of the 5th day. I'll be there. It's trust. I like it that we're now after Fellowship, where trust was broken in some sense at the end of Fellowship because Boromir got sucked in by the ring and it caused the breaking, and new bonds had to be forged. But here we go. Trust is returned in this one, where Gandalf says, I'm going to trust you're going to keep defense, and Aragorn, I'm going to trust you're going to bail our asses out when the shit hits the fan.
But that goes to Gandalf. Gandalf was one of the glues that held the team together. And
yeah, we said that last week. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And when he comes back, it's like, hey, we know he's going to provide. We need to provide for him.
But then, you know, it's going to be even more tested in trust when we get to Return of the King, because then it kind of flips around, I think, when we get to Return of the King. Because and it's even kind of weak because, again, trying not to go too far ahead, Aragorn isn't fully committed in order to do what he has to do for Return of the King at this point. He's still being the ranger, the captain here. And it's interesting. Let's talk about Aragorn a little bit. Let's talk about Aragorn before we transition to the other characters, to the other part of the movie, which is Frodo and Sam and Gollum.
The forgettable part.
Yeah, the forgettable part.
Not forgettable.
Crap.
All right, we're gonna listen. We'll get into. I want to get finishing this segment off before we open up that can of worms, because I can tell already we're gonna have some words on that. Again, Aragorn remains my favorite character in this movie because we're seeing it's the slow burn hero. I'm just doing what I have to do. I am shouldering the load. I'm marching along. I'm the old man on the scene, but I'm calm and collected, but I still have the fierceness to take all this shit on. But also what I love is when we get to Helm's Deep, after remember, this is now his return to the human world at this point. He has been in the world of elves for the longest time. And now with the Fellowship, and now they're going into Rohan, he's now in the world of humans. His unfortunate interactions with Éowyn, leading her along unintentionally, getting her hopes up that there's a future for them. Okay, and I don't think he does it. It's unintentional. I don't think
that. How do you see that? He actually turned her off several times to make sure she didn't.
Return of the King right now, but what I'm saying, his kindness comes off. He doesn't do it intentionally. His kindness to her and his respect showing to her, to me, that's unintentional wooing, because he's just being a good man and he's being honorable and he's treating her with the respect that she deserves, not only for position, but her actions and desires. And she twists it around as, oh, he's into me.
Well, that's what things like, it's moments, you go to Jed's favorite moment. It's Aragorn consoles her.
Consolidated stone?
Yeah, consolidated. I'm thinking about Conan.
What's the recipe, Dermy? What's the recipe?
Ichor and fiber.
No.
Fiber and resin.
God damn it. Anyways.
And it's Ichor, not Ichor.
Shut up, Jed.
That is how you pronounce Ichor, at least for mythology.
That's what Adams calls it, Ichor. So, anyways,
I'm no source of correct pronunciation.
Aragorn,
remember that.
You have Aragorn consoling her when she is at the lowest when she's scared. She goes to Aragorn because Aragorn's there to be, kind of inspirational. She knows that he's gonna try to do good. He says the right thing, so she's being wooed by him unintentionally, like you were saying. Yeah. She's just falling for a good man, and rightfully so.
Well, we get the line.
Jeremy,
in
stop
the
there.
next movie. We get the line in the next movie. What you love isn't there. That doesn't exist. That's when, to Mustang's point, when he shoots her down completely. But in this point, he's just being nice. And she's lived in a world for a while now where everybody's miserable around her, and nobody treats her with the respect or maybe the hope that she wants for her life.
When Aragorn came in, she literally was at her lowest point.
Yeah.
Theoden was under control. Her brother was gone. Her cousin's dead. She had nobody, and Aragorn comes in there and is there for her. So she falls in love with him through that.
Well, yeah. It's a hero thing, and it's a powerful presence. And again, he shows her kindness, and he's going to keep showing her kindness, where it doesn't necessarily, where it maybe in a more calm environment, she might not have taken it to that level. But Aragorn, I'm trying to find the right way to put this. He just wants to get through all this, and I think that's why he doesn't realize what he's doing, because he's got the blinders on. He's laser focused on the mission, and the mission is basically run cover for Frodo, and up to this point, first it had been to save Merry and Pippin, but then it's now we run cover for Frodo. Now we have to stop Sauron from weakening our armies before we get to the larger battles ahead. And he's very focused on it, but he's also, as I said, this is his reemergence into the world of men. And I think he's just not used to dealing with people at this point, if they're not an elf or a wizard. He's just not used to it. And because at one point during the whole Helm's Deep thing, you can see his struggle, because now he's realizing, I'm a man. These are my people. When Legolas trying to say we have to, their fate is sealed. They're doomed. You're going to die if you go out there. Well, I'll die with them, because they're talking in Elvish, but then he breaks to his frustration. He goes to human tongue of men, and he says, I'll die with them, because I'm one of them. I'm a human. I'm not an elf. These are where my emotions lie. These are where my connections lie. And I think at that point, I really enjoy the character growth of he's remembering he is of the world of men. He is not of the world of elves.
It was smart of Peter Jackson not to let him have Narsil, because in the books, he was carrying Narsil at this point.
Oh, really?
Any man who would have seen him carrying Narsil would have known that is the king, and Theoden would have been taken down because that is the true king.
That's
him holding
high,
Narsil.
high king. That's
yeah,
high
him
king,
holding Narsil, that flat out says to the world, the king has returned.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd love that change. There are definitely changes that the movie's made that I definitely on the side of, and everything to do with the sword is absolutely.
It's more powerful with its return in Return of the King, when it's revealed there, and it's reforging. It's much more powerful in that movie.
Well,
and it's Elrond's character arc. It
Yeah.
has a little arc for him because he does that.
But not to try to jump ahead, but that's also the moment where Aragorn fully takes up his position.
That's the thing where he knows, okay, to my point, he is still put aside the ranger, to quote from the next movie, put aside the ranger and be who you're meant to be. At this point, he is still the ranger. He's still just the captain of a guard. He's not ready to be king yet. He hasn't reconciled, because he's still, from my perspective, reinserting himself into the world of men, not understanding that he is the world of men. The world of men require him and him alone in order to survive.
Part of that's also his love for Arwen.
Yes.
And in the extended edition, you see just how this is struggling, because he cares about Arwen more than anything else.
You make my point. You just made my point even stronger, Jeremy. He's struggling to reassimilate to human life, because he's got her remembrance around his neck. He's got a piece of her around his neck, and he is still tied to her, and she to him. I mean, I do love the thing. This is a dream. Well, then this is a good dream. Or when it's her presence that wakes him up after the fall over the cliff, when they fight the goblin, the warg riders.
And you're talking about the scene that it's a good dream. It's a very good dream if you realize that in certain shots, if you change the lighting a little bit, there's some nipple.
Thanks, Jed.
You're welcome.
Jed's on point.
Hey, back in the day, we were all similar for Liv Tyler back in the day, dude. When she burst on the records, when she burst onto the scene with Empire Records on my shelf right there, we were all simping hard for Liv Tyler.
I struggle to simp for her after whatchamacallit, Armageddon. I'm very turned off.
I never finished Armageddon.
Oh, it's such a great movie. I'm gonna make you watch it for Saturday Night Drive because
no.
I love that
I do
movie.
Love the Aerosmith theme, though. I do love that theme.
It's great, but it's kind of hard to simp for her after seeing Ben Affleck playing with animal crackers on her exposed midriff. It's difficult after that. It's like this little cow's going to market, and it's like walking down to her vagina.
I'd like
to go to that market.
What it is about Liv
I'd
Tyler.
still like to go to that market.
She's never done it for me. It's something with a facial structure. Something about
what
it.
You see Steven Tyler?
Yeah.
Steven Tyler.
I see
well, I thought
Steven
you'd.
Tyler.
Well, Jeremy, this is you. I thought you'd be okay with that.
No, Steven Tyler,
and she was in Hulk.
That's a piece
too.
of leather.
That's sad.
Mm-hmm.
She's coming back. There's a rumor that she's coming back.
She's going to be in Black Captain America 4.
New World Order.
Why now? I don't know. She still looks good, though. She still looks good.
She does.
She still looks good.
Yeah. All right. Our moment of simp is over. All right. Let's jump to, before we get to what it was, Merry and Pippin. Merry and Pippin.
This is their strongest movie, in my opinion. Yeah. Even though Return of the King has them splitting up and being all Soldier Boy, I love their interactions with the Ents. How can that be your decision?
Gandalf says that prophetic line. They will be as the what was it? Basically they're the catalyst.
Mm-hmm.
That's the Ents are going to wake up and realize they're strong, and it's all going to be because of Merry and Pippin. These two little crazy pot addicted hobbits are gonna...
Is it pot or is it tobacco?
Tobacco.
Yeah,
I don't know.
They call it weed.
They call it weed.
But... they're all high as hell. When they're at the end of the movie, when they're smoking and eating, that is munchy time. That is munchy time.
That's Merry and Pippin. I love Merry.
They're high as shit.
They're so great together, and their character. Bitch! The character arcs in this series as a whole is phenomenal. We were talking about that earlier, Mustang, about series character arc in the books. Character arcs are some of my favorite things ever. And if you compare the fireworks scene, or even when they meet up with Frodo and Sam in Fellowship in the garden, to the scene where everybody bows to them in Return of the King, how are these the same characters? And it's beautiful.
I don't care. I'm still not bound to. I'm not bound to a Hobbit. I'm not bending the knee to a Hobbit. No.
And yet, that brings up that is my number one most favorite scene in the entire all 6 movies.
Really?
Nobody bows to you, my friends.
All right. Well,
you bow to no one.
You bow to no one. Keep your powder dry for next week.
You get to this goes to something you said last week, Adam, about Merry and Pippin. And I get the two mixed up, and I think I'm getting it right. Pippin is the one that just isn't taking everything seriously, right?
Yeah, he's the airhead.
Yeah, he's the airhead. He's not taking it seriously. But Merry is starting to really
he gets it.
Yeah, he's really getting things figured out of this one.
Merry understood life that sooner when it was serious.
But Pippin was also starting to kind of get there in this.
Well, it's Pippin's idea to, hey, let's take a walk by Isengard.
Yeah.
It was his idea. But it was still not, he still doesn't get it. He just realizes I can solve this problem, but it's not until after the Palantir moment in Return of the King that's when he starts to freaking get it.
Because he's fine. That goes to the next movie, but
because he fucked up.
He fucked up, but also he's alone.
Well, that too. Well,
the scene with them non-director's cut made me think that when they were going to do Return of the King, we were going to get the Scouring of the Shire.
Yes.
And then not to have that happen, I was like, what the hell? Why didn't you do it? You set it up.
I struggle with that change because, I think it would make a lot more sense with their change, show them a little bit powerful, and then Saruman's ending would make a lot more sense. I prefer the way Saruman ends in the book than in the movies.
But it would have been too long then. I mean,
well, there's that, but I also think there's an aspect of narrative momentum that's different between films and books. Is we've come over the climax where the story has fulfilled with the destroying of the ring, and I think it would have been jolting to go back into a moment of intense drama and action.
We're gonna make this joke plenty times this week. How many conclusions, endings are there in Return of the King?
Not enough.
Too many.
Not enough.
All those endings. So I mean, we'll again, this will be a topic for next week. But again, I understand, and as someone who want a pure adaptation, that part of me says should have done it. But then the one part of me says the movie's already 4 hours. It's time to stop. It's time to stop. We're done.
I want it. I want you to give me like the full 20-hour versions of all these movies. But I'm perfectly fine with what they gave us because it goes to something we like to bring up. Peter Jackson did this in the spirit of Tolkien.
Yeah,
Tolkien would have hated it.
Changes.
Tolkien
Christopher Tolkien apparently hated it.
Yeah, they hated it, but you did your best. That's what I want. I want you to get as close to humanly possible. Stay in that spirit, and that's what Peter Jackson did.
You know what they had to given up to do scouring? They had to cut the Battle of Helm's Deep in half. That's all it would have took to do scouring of the Shire because it was not a long scene.
No, the scouring of the Shire was in Return of the King, though.
To shrink it down, they would have had to take out half that battle and move this story along a little bit further. That's all they would have had to do.
I definitely wouldn't want to give up any Helm's Deep for that.
I don't.
And it's in the second movie versus the third
from
movie.
his point of not liking it, so that's what.
Yeah, no, I'm coming from the books, from knowing the books. That's all they would have had to do, and then you would have got scouring.
But they're in different movies. I don't know if that would have helped the runtime.
But here's the thing: here's how Peter. What I loved what Peter did to rectify it. He still had Grima stab and kill Sauron.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
yep.
That rectified doing the scouring. When the director's cut came out, I went, okay, I can get on board with that. I can live with that because it still gave the correct ending and the correct way.
Yep. Yeah, because when you watched it, and I'll talk about this next week, when you see the beginning of Return of the King theater cut, that whole scene, it feels wrong, and then when you watch extended edition, it feels right.
Yes.
There's a lot of scenes like that watching the theatrical cut scene.
Yeah.
Well, in all three of them, like in this one, there's the conversation with Faramir when he finds out that Boromir dies. It's so jank in the theatrical.
Yeah.
But in
that
this one,
flashback is great because
the flash. Well, and he just like jumps to he was my brother. It's like, but
yeah, well, I love that flashback because one, we get a little more Sean Bean, but then also I love it because for the movies, it gives us in that brief scene we get a little more to Boromir. Boromir didn't want to go. He wanted no part. I need to be here with my people.
It shows you who kind of the real jackass in that whole family is.
Oh, we knew that.
We already know that.
Yeah.
And even his own sons hate him. Oh, can he give us no peace? I mean, it's just
because Boromir loved his brother, and there was a brotherly relationship, but he was doing that because his father asked him to, and his land needed it. He cares. It goes to one of the reasons why I like the Rohirrim. He cares about Boromir cared about his family and his people. One of the reasons I like Theoden and the Rohirrim, they care about their family and their people.
You know, I see that scene, and I'm going to go back to what I said last week when we were talking about Boromir's death and how the fanboy. I mean, I understand it's pivotal for the plot, and that. I take my objectivity out of it, and I go to the fanboy in me. That scene there reinforces my sadness that Boromir didn't survive and grow to become Aragorn's right-hand man. Because in that moment, you see, he would have made the best. I will just say he still would have been a steward rank, maybe a chancellor or a general commander. He would have been so great as Aragorn's right-hand man. That scene shows you it's about protecting Gondor. It's about the people for him. He's not a snooty noble. He doesn't. Yes, he at that point his family is the most powerful family in Gondor, but to him that doesn't matter. It's about the people. It's about the men and the women. The men he fights along, the women they need to protect, the support, everything. That is what was so important to me. But
well, and that would have been really nice.
Hurts me so much. So much. Yeah,
that would have been nice. But I feel like at the same time, the shipping Tumblr community already has enough fodder for their Boromir and Aragorn ship that having them work together later on would have really propelled that far.
Okay, they weren't around back. They weren't around back then, Jed. So they don't count. And they go to hell because they weren't around. Thank God.
Last week he couldn't ruin my wishes last week for that. So yeah, I spent like a good 15 minutes waxing poetic about how I wanted them. The what if Boromir had survived and been Aragorn's right hand man when he was king. I wanted that.
People have tried to make legitimate like article like actual mainstream article arguments for why Aragorn is actually gay for Boromir because he kisses him on the forehead before he dies.
You leave this stuff leave this stuff out of here, Jed. We're talking about something that's real, not people on Tumblr and Twitter
All
and
right.
TikTok or whatever. You're probably into some weird stuff.
Can I say who my second favorite character is?
Go ahead.
I love Two Towers so much because it introduces my two favorite characters, Theoden, and then Boromir's little brother, whose name is escaping me. Faramir. Those are my two favorite characters in this whole story.
By the end of it, you like Faramir because Faramir resists the ring.
Mm-hmm.
He resists. I mean, maybe you could say because he never touches the ring, it doesn't get a chance to get its hooks in him. But he doesn't. It tried. All you have to do is, I mean, he and when he decides to take Frodo and Sam to Osgiliath and then into Gondor, starting there, it's not the ring doing it. That's his desperation to be loved by his father that does that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's the ring. I just want to be recognized by dad. I got daddy issues, and that's what's going on there. But then when he has a chance, when you get that voiceover, when Galadriel is giving the talking telepathically to Elrond. Thank you guys for helping me out there.
You're welcome.
I was trying to remember which one you were talking about.
When she's talking to did that. God damn it. Hang on. When she's talking telepathically to Elrond, and when she's talking telepathically to Elrond, and she is telling him that all the young captain of Gondor needs to do is to reach out and take the ring, and all hope will be lost. And you realize that that's a precarious moment there. Why isn't this working?
I don't know.
My flash drive finally just.
Hey, I'm the only one on screen. This is
no, but you're just the only one here. It doesn't mean you're the only one here. My flash drive finally.
I just like the fact that that goes beyond the next movie, so we can talk about it. Arwen and Faramir are married.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's that to me is one of the most perfect. Yeah, one of the most perfect couples ever written because they are the two that truly deserved each other.
I love Faramir.
Crap.
He has daddy issues. He just wants to do good. He wants to be recognized by his father. He is trying his hardest. That man is being given very little, and all he wants is for his father to say he loves him.
Yeah.
His father was a dick.
His father's a jackass. I did not feel sorry for what happened to his father.
Nobody does.
No, nobody does.
I cheered. Sorry, the dude deserved it.
Faramir, the only thing Faramir had was Boromir, and when Boromir left, was killed, Faramir kind of had nothing. He tried his damnedest. He did everything he could for his father. Everything. Love Faramir.
But we can't. Faramir is great in the sense that, like I said, I like it that he doesn't fall victim to the ring. He's able to resist it, and he's able to do the right thing at the end. Although his actions also lead to
what happens
Sam and Frodo getting a little effed over because it's his actions when he is just trying to get Daddy's love that turn Gollum away from the slim path to redemption that he was on back to multiple personality psychopath.
Yeah. I think that was going to happen either way by the end of it. He's destroying Frodo's trying to destroy the ring. I feel like that was inevitable, but
the ring had
accelerated.
The ring's hooks were too deep into Gollum.
It's actually a good thing because he was their protection along the journey because Osgiliath was relatively on the way from the Black Gate to Cthulhu. So he just had armed escort for part of the way. So I think Faramir helped more than he hurt Frodo's journey.
Part of what we were talking about last week with where I was saying, the reason why Frodo was the ring bearer is because he's pure of heart. The reason why it didn't affect Faramir either, his pureness of heart. There's a definite theme with who the ring cannot affect minus Tom Bombadil. If you are very pure of heart, it doesn't seem to affect you very much. Even Bilbo was very pure of heart.
Yeah.
Most of the hobbits are. Like, even Sam
Well-
was able to carry the ring.
Yes, that's why he
Yeah.
got to go to the
Because he only
Dying
cares
Lands.
about the Shire.
Well, all right, here. That's why I'm going to say something here. Hang on a second. Let me just finish what I'm doing here.
I think it's time to talk
Yeah.
about hobbits as well.
Well, that's
I'm
where we're-
ready to
we're-
talk
we're-
about Frodo
oh,
and Sam.
Hey,
we're
Jeremy.
talking about the hobbits.
Jeremy,
Yeah.
Siobhan has found Harfoots in Conan as well, and she's been
What?
running around kill- Yeah, yeah.
There are Harfoots?
She let a few words out of Jed's tree when she found them.
I was surprised.
And that was
They're
a big out of nowhere.
All I hear is we must begin the purge. I must begin cleansing, and I want to cleanse them so badly. I'm not even going to harvest them. I'm not even going to try to do anything to them.
I think they're
just
too
want them
dirty
dead.
even for Jeremy to eat.
Yeah, they deserve the quick death.
Oh, yes, they do.
Yeah, it was quite funny.
Did
when
you say
she,
the clit death?
I did, but I quickly tried
Oh
to
my
save it.
God.
Well, Siobhan would probably say the clit death.
Oh, she said worse than that.
Oh my God. All right.
What was it? Oh, you fucked the hell off?
Yeah. I'm getting ready to, talk about something, answer somebody in the chat. It's like, hey, JB in the chat. And then she goes, oh, you can fuck right off. I'm like, you not like JB or what? And she's like, no, I found some Harfoots.
Shit. Hang on. God damn it. Stop doing
Siobhan
that.
needs to show me where these Harfoots are. So
I want to know where the Harfoots are. There needs to be a cleansing. There needs to be a cleansing.
We all just team back up and we just, light it
Where
on
we set
fire.
up our first base is where she's at.
Oh,
Excuse me
and
while
speaking
I-
of that
while I
Mustang,
fix this,
you should
guys.
check Discord.
Oh God, did she put it in there?
No, it's from me.
Oh, okay. I'll try. Let me see if I can
All
get on
right,
Discord.
excuse me for fixing this so that I have a background going on here. All right, because my flash drive just crapped out on me, and that's where I keep all my pictures for my background. All right, okay,
I'm ready.
I'm ready.
The
for this
Hobbits.
too.
The Hobbits. First of all, let's just talk about this. This was our introduction to Gollum. I know that from Fellowship, I was eager to see how it was going to work. How do we all feel when now this also, I had never heard of Andy Serkis before this. I'd never heard of him, and goddamn, he what we know for what he did, crawling around on the ground like Gollum all the time, he just committed to being Gollum.
God, Andy Serkis was freaking awesome.
He deserved an Oscar for this movie.
Well, also like I do disagree with Adam and stuff on Frodo's whole thing. Only reason why I would skip through the Frodo parts is when it was, Helm's Deep. But throughout it, for the most part, the whole story with Frodo and Frodo, Sam, and Gollum, Frodo's trying to save Gollum because he wants to believe that he himself
Can come back. I mean, it's
Exactly.
very prevalent. Yeah,
it's that comparison. No, Sam's my favorite Lord of the Rings character. bar
Sam,
none.
I'm going to say right now, I tease Benny. Sam is the real hero of the story.
Because he only cares about the Shire. He wants to protect Frodo. He just wants to get back home. He wants everything to be normal
It's this movie where Sam's heroism, where he is the center of all this, he is the one that really completes this journey. He's the one that enables it all to happen. Because Frodo, in the end, doesn't have the wherewithal to finish it because he can't hold out long enough in the end. We'll talk about that more next week.
Yeah.
So, and to Jed's point, the speech at the end, that to me, that is the proof that Sam, he is the heart of it all. Also because he's never snowed by Gollum. Never snowed. He sees through it. He's a villain. There's nothing but that in him now.
Well, go ahead.
All right. Well, even during the Helm Deep part, I love the Frodo and Sam aspects of even that section because we need that Sam speech to make that final moment as epic it is. Like the voiceover as we see the Ents taking down Asgard, the final victory against the Uruk-hai at Helm's Deep, and you need those other scenes to build up to his speech to facilitate that epic moment. And like the Sam and Frodo Gollum dynamic is one of my favorite parts of all three movies, and it's one of my favorite parts of this one as well, because just like you said, the comparison between where Frodo and Gollum, how he might end up like Gollum someday, and the tragedy of Frodo, because Frodo is an incredibly tragic character, and the arc he goes on is very, very sad. And I think it's done incredibly well in this movie. Like I love the Frodo and Sam bits of this movie.
When you combined what Frodo saw Bilbo go through, and when he saw Bilbo again and the lunging for the ring, when you combine him seeing Gandalf talking to him about empathy and true heroism was sparing Gollum, and when he finally meets Gollum and stuff, he's like, I could become this. I saw Bilbo start to become this. I could become this. And when Sam's belittling Gollum the whole time, all he's seeing is himself.
And he can also, here's a line, I see now why Bilbo pitied him. But the Gollum scene, I loved it when Smeagol versus Gollum, the water, the reflection, that is it's a great scene. I love those types of things.
Wait, the water and the reflection, I think that's
the reflection.
Well, the reflection that's the Gollum personality, which basically is the ring.
I don't think he's using reflection like water reflection, just like the comparison.
Yeah,
well,
meaning
he's looking in the water. He sees himself, and he keeps talking, and that's the
next movie. In this one, he's just sitting there, and they change
you're
it.
right. You're right.
Okay,
Sorry, that's Return of the King. Sorry,
because when they first show it, he's moving back and forth.
You're right. I got the movie. You're right.
Yeah, that scene under the bridge is just so great. The troll underneath the bridge talking to himself. I find that kind of funny. But yeah, that scene is phenomenal. And it's very important for Frodo as well, because he's already starting to develop the Smeagol or the Gollum personality. Like when he lunges at Sam at the end and nearly stabs him. That's
ring
Gollum.
rage. That's ring rage. Yeah. That's ring rage right there.
But
that's the most balls Frodo shows ever.
Well, that's not even Frodo. That's the ring.
And I love it. Yes, Frodo, he's not going to ever be a physically antagonistic person. He's never going to be a physical opponent. And yeah, Frodo's journey I find incredibly relatable, more so than nearly anybody else, because he's as average guy gets. Like he's not exceptional in any way besides the purity of his heart. Like even Sam is competent in a lot of things.
Sam's very competent. Sam can fight. I mean, granted, again, I'll save that for next. I want to make comment about that. That's the next movie. I'm gonna.
Well, you also do need Frodo and Sam's story through this, and another aspect is you see Sauron building up his forces through their aspects. You see the people entering the Black Gates. You see how the Black Gates and how fortified that thing is, and how it ain't gonna be easy to get through that thing. You see the other men that have the elephant walking around. Yeah, the Easterlings and stuff. You see them interacting, and then you see the Rangers take them out. But through Frodo and Sam, you're seeing like they're building up their forces.
True.
You see the Witch King Angmar riding upon. I can never remember.
Well, we don't know if that's him.
That's him.
It could have been any of them.
It could have been any other.
It's him because there's a key to, and they talk about it in. Oh, when do they talk? I think it's in the next one. They say whenever he feels the pain, whenever he's grasping at his chest, that's the Witch King, because the Witch King pierced him. So he always feels the Witch King's blade. So when he was saying, grasping there, because
here's what I'm going to say. And again, unless I get actual evidence of that, I mean, anybody can, refute what I'm about to say. If the Witch King had been there at Osgiliath, I don't think they get away.
I don't think that was the Witch King there, but over in when they're crossing the marshes.
Oh, maybe. But I don't think the Nazgul we see at Osgiliath is the Witch King, because the Witch King wouldn't have let him get away.
He wouldn't.
Because
I agree with you. I don't think that's the same.
Here's the
thing. I don't think that's the Witch King, but when he's flying over the marshes, I think that's the Witch King.
Here's why I don't think it's the Witch King. And I'm gonna have to leak into the next movie just to make my point now. Last we saw the Witch King, he and the rest of the Nazgul were swept away in Fellowship by the defenses of Rivendell. Before that, he'd been burned by Aragorn, taking a torch to the face. I think the Witch King is still in recovery mode after the events of Fellowship, because in Return of the King, Gandalf says the Sauron has yet to reveal his strongest servant.
It's true.
So I think the Witch King of Angmar, he's still in recovery in Minas Morgul. He's still in recovery because when they're putting the armor on there, then he's been resting, regaining his strength after the events of Fellowship. Now he's armored up. Now he's ready to lead the armies.
But wasn't he chasing after them, and they didn't end up getting away from the Nazgul until the water?
Correct.
Yeah, but that's just a chase scene. They're all 9 were there, and the defense.
So until they get into the Rivendell, he's not recovering from burns,
but he'd already taken damage from.
I don't know if I agree with the in recovery aspect, but the whole he has yet to reveal his deadliest servant. That I think is evidence that maybe he hasn't been out doing patrol. He hasn't been out in combat. He's been staying back at
since Weathertop and Rivendell.
He's been staying back because to Sauron's knowledge, there was no reason for them to be out because the ring was in Rivendell. He could not take on the power of the elves at that point. He had to wait until something happened to bring out the race. Something that did it, and them attacking Minas Tirith, they knew the ring was there. They felt its presence. That's why he was able to come back out.
Whichever of the 9 it was that's over the marshes, you hear it sniffing as it's flying around.
They're searching for the ring.
They know the ring's in the open. It's in the field. It's in the field. But they don't know that. They don't know. To Gandalf's point, they have not divined their purpose yet, that they're trying to destroy the ring. But they know it's out there. And every time Frodo, it's like, God, I keep screaming.
God, you're getting worse than me.
I'm speaking too quickly. That's my problem. I'm speaking too quickly. It's the New Yorkese in me. Every time Frodo almost puts it on, it takes somebody to stop him. We know that as soon as he puts it on, that's the bat signal. He's right there. You're going to find me instantly. But I don't think I'm going to stand by. I don't think that's Angmar in Osgiliath. I don't think that's Angmar.
I agree with that one. But flying over the marshes, I'm convinced that's. I'm convinced that's Angmar.
I don't see the Witch King being the one doing patrols.
Yeah,
no, it is not the Witch King. The armor is completely wrong because I've gone over that scene a million times, thinking that.
But he wasn't fully armored yet.
Yeah, he doesn't armor up until the middle of
Return of the King. Yeah, there's no gauntlet. They all look the same in Fellowship. So you can't tell them apart. But I don't think it's him. I'm gonna stand on that. I don't think it's him.
I could be wrong.
Or the marshes.
I could be wrong, but through Frodo and Sam, you see just how powerful Sauron is getting. And how
I'm not disputing that. I'm not disputing that. I just think that the movie drags in the second act with them.
It does.
And that's where it loses points. Even though it's my favorite, objectively speaking, as Jed always likes to bring up when we do these things, that's from a watch experience. I'm always waiting for their scenes to end so I can get back to the stuff I'm interested in, which is the rest of the movie, not their scenes. I mean, but don't get me wrong. I understand the importance of Frodo's mental struggles, his spiritual struggles of, I see myself there, but for the grace of God go I, basically. I understand that from the narrative perspective. I just wanted to hurry up and move on to the scenes where I'm more engaged. That's it. I understood the storytelling aspect. Is that, but it's because of that I still dislike Frodo. I
don't understand that. I respect it, obviously. I don't understand it because I love the Frodo story so much, and Elijah Wood I think deserved an Oscar. Not as much as
Sir Ian and
Sam.
Andy Serkis would have deserved more. But
Sam deserved it more than
Elijah. I would agree that those three definitely but I think Elijah Wood, especially in the third one, is pretty on point. Nowhere near as much as Ian McKellen, Andy Serkis, or Sean Astin.
Let me make my point though. When Jed says that, here's why. By now, I like my upfront alpha hero. I just do. It's my personality. It's the way I like these things. Part of me, but the brilliance of the professor's writing in terms of the character creator Frodo, I understand Frodo's purpose. I just have a hard time getting behind Frodo because I feel like Frodo is wishy-washy and he's too indecisive at times. And he makes one bad decision after another. And I just have a hard time reconciling that and getting behind him. Whereas Sam, who I can get behind. Sam's wants to make every time there's a call to be made, Sam's right call is there. He wants to make the right call. Frodo doesn't want to make the right call. And it's and also Frodo's in the next movie, Frodo's lost in trust of Sam, who is his moral direction, his conscience, his to keep on board. He loses it. And
Sam makes the hard decisions.
And that's why
He's
I like
willing to.
Sam. Sam's going to do it. And Frodo wants to make the easy decisions. And he wants to make that's why I just can't I don't relate to Frodo. That's the problem as far as heroes go. And Frodo's a hero, he's just not my kind of hero.
Yeah.
I have a hard time.
I can see that. I love his type of hero. I like non-traditional heroes. Not in the modern sense.
And I like I know what you're saying. And I like the traditional hero.
Yeah, it's just a different
That's why Aragorn is my favorite. Because he's the traditional hero.
And we've talked about it a few times, the differences between the books and the movies, but one that I put up as definitely better in the movies, just like some of the others we've talked about, is the change in relationship between Frodo and Sam. Because in the books, it's very much master and servant.
Yes.
That is their dynamic in the books. But in the movies, it's brothers in arms, best friends. And I think that lends towards their relationship a lot more and helps Frodo's character substantially as a result as well. Because Sam is his support system in more than just do my chores for me sense.
Yeah, if it had been if the book version had portrayed, I think Frodo would have come off a lot worse for people in live action.
Well, and even though it's taken like nearly word for word from the book, a scene I mentioned earlier is the extended edition scene at the beginning when they're climbing down the rope and talking about the salt. If it was just master and servant, I don't think that's as impactful as hearing your best friend say, "Hey, I'm carrying around the seasoning in case we get a chicken."
It's it's a taste of home.
It's a taste of home. And it's just that dogged optimism that makes me love Sam so much because, like I mentioned, this should seem like a nihilistic world. Like everyone has a justification to be nihilistic in Middle Earth at this time in history, but they refuse to be. And I think that's something that's very powerful about this story is you could be nihilist, but if you choose not to, hope can exist. And it's just willpower that can change the fate of an entire world. And Sam exemplifies that.
And even Arwen has that line. I have hope when I just lost his name again. Shit. When her father
Theoden?
No.
Elrond.
Elrond, thank you.
I get Arwen and Eowyn mixed up.
Most people do.
Well, that's why I say it very slowly.
The two women,
sure it comes out.
the two women in the movie have nearly the same name, pronunciation-wise.
When
Elrond is Burnett.
When Elrond is trying to break her to make her go home, and maybe I'm thinking of the next movie.
You are.
Well, I am. You're right. I am.
No, it wouldn't be. Yeah, it's the next movie, but it wouldn't be home because Arwen is third generation or second. Yeah, third generation. Is it third? Is that how you would count it?
It would be. She would. Well, no. She would technically be the fourth generation.
Well, because there's a Galadriel's daughter, and then Arwen, so that's just two generations on Middle Earth. I don't know how you count generations, but she's pretty far down the line.
Might be a little hard with elves in Tolkien.
Yeah, because the generation's 20 years, and we're talking an elf.
Well, I mean geological generations. Because,
second for geological.
Yeah. She's a second generation Middle Earther. She's never known the Undying Lands, and so going.
All right, so I'm gonna keep my powders on that because again,
and even Elrond's third generation too. I think.
No, he's second.
He's at least second, yeah.
Because his father was an elf, his mother was a human. Or was it the other way around?
Reversed. You reversed it. It's the other way around. I'll keep my my Arwen comment right because it starts in this movie, but then when I want to say starts in this movie, but finishes, my point finishes in Return of the King. So I'll keep my powder dry on that in terms of when it comes to hope.
I can prove why Theoden's the greatest next episode 2.
Anyway, so anybody else? I mean, we've covered all the major arcs, the characters, and we've been roaming around, but that's how this goes. It's a Lord of the Rings movie.
It's too big.
Not just that. It's been talked about so much. We stressed this last week.
Things.
We just got to find a way. Once we get an avenue in, we just got to. The conversation will take us where it takes us, and I feel like we're at that point where we've covered just about everything in an organic way. We're not really forcing this and that. So as Jed mentioned earlier, we come to again, Howard Shore's score. This knocks it out of the park. This one, it really knocks it out of the park. So much so that it's not even him. This in the extended editions, how every time the movie ends, it goes into an actual song.
Mm-hmm.
This one is my favorite one.
I could agree with that.
Yeah, I love this one. It's so achingly sorrowful. Da-na-na-na, da-na-na-na. I can't get the words in my head right now, but I there's something so achingly sorrowful about it. It gets to you, and I feel it.
It's better than Enya from the first one, that's for sure.
Yeah. So
but I have to actually put up the Battle of Five Armies end song sung by Billy Boyd pretty high up there too.
That is a good one.
The Ed Sheeran one from the second one or the first one isn't good, but the Last Goodbye is so good.
The Last Goodbye is fantastic.
Billy
Boyd
like is a great singer.
Fire, but The Last Goodbye is so much better.
When it comes to I'll See Fire, Ed Sheeran's version absolutely is my least favorite of all of them out there. Celtic Woman's is the best version.
I really like good. I love Dan Vasquez. I love Dan Vasquez's version.
And then the Misty Mountains one from the first one.
Misty Mountain, that's good. Yeah, the Misty Mountain.
Okay,
that song is just great.
Led Zeppelin.
Mm-hmm. But everything about the music, every scene. I mean, we're repeating ourselves from last week. Well, but for Jed's sake, we're saying everything is pinpoint perfect for the mood and the moments.
I don't think my favorite scene would hit as well if it wasn't for the music that starts playing.
Elevation.
It
does. Howard Shore and John Williams are the king of elevating soundtracks.
Yep.
When the Trents come out, it starts has that mystical kind of feel, like very slow, kind of how the Ents are, and it builds up because the Ents are marching off to war that they might think is the last fight they ever do.
Well, and that track I love too, the one you're talking about with the Ents' March on Isengard, because I'm a sucker for choral soundtracks.
The chanting. I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but anytime there's a choral soundtrack with chanting or vocals that aren't actual lyrics, I am on board. I am ready to go. I'm pumped. I'm hyped.
You know what? I really like parts of the Dune soundtrack because of that too.
Oh yeah,
Hans Zimmer. I haven't heard it because again, we know I'm keeping my powder dry on Dune until it's all done, and it might not even be done with part 2. Mustang and I have our theories about that right now, but Hans Zimmer can get it done too. He can get it done as well as anybody else. But Howard Shore, to quote ourselves again, the elevation. That is what takes movies from pedestrian or average to the scores we're all likely to give it right now. Music elevates, a soundtrack elevates, it makes it memorable. The Rohan theme, the Gondor theme from last movie, concerning hobbits, all these themes are part of our cultural zeitgeist now. Yeah. They are instantly recognizable. We all know them because they make up who we are in terms of enjoying these movies. And that's the power of a perfect soundtrack. And Howard Shore's tracks for all 3 of these movies are perfection. They're like you guys just said, it's up there with John Williams. I mean, it's always going to be John Williams with John Williams at some point. But Howard Shore, he is entered into these conversations because of this trilogy. It's just spot on.
JB's got a question I'd like to touch on real quick because I do know this answer. The Battle of Evermore is a tribute to Tolkien. That's why I said probably about a month ago on one of Adam's streams, if anybody was to try and touch any of the works, who would we want directing it? I flat out said somebody from Led Zeppelin, Robert Plant, definitely. They love Tolkien with an extreme passion. So it's inspired by and it's about. It's one of the.
I say let Amazon do it.
Can you sound more gay, Jeremy?
You boot
Is
him
that
out.
Yes, he
possible?
can.
Yes, actually, I can.
Not even like that. Just wait 10 minutes for a random phrase, and he will make himself.
Oh,
gay.
sweet child, please. You don't know how to be
Okay.
gay one bit. You're too much
All right,
of
all
the
right, all
Southern
right. So,
States.
Do
Here
you want to
we
hear my
are.
gay verse from earlier? Mustang was a little creeped
Oh,
out by it.
God, yeah, don't
What,
do
what
that
was
again.
it?
I'm not gonna do it.
I don't,
But-
let's end this stream on a high note, not a gay note. Okay.
Yeah, but with most other film soundtracks, the thing I've noticed, with the exception of John Williams and Hans Zimmer, is at best we get one good song, one good theme song, and we consider that a good soundtrack as a result. Like the first Avengers movie, everyone remembers the Avengers
tune.
theme. Yeah, no
That's
one
it.
knows a single other song. And this, even with Indiana Jones, I think we only remember the main theme for the most part. With most soundtracks, you only get one exceptional all-time song. But John Williams in Star Wars and Hans Zimmer in Lord of the Rings are one of the only two examples that I can think of off the top of my head.
Well,
where
you
it's
said-
nearly
you
every
mean-
single one is a banger.
You said Howard. You said Hans Zimmer earlier. Is he Howard Shore? But I think what you're thinking is I would say Hans Zimmer and Pirates of the Caribbean.
Okay, yeah, I'm all Howard.
You're
Shore.
right. You're still tired. I give you a pass.
I'm very, very tired.
I
But yeah,
would argue
that's who I was
Indiana
thinking of, was
Jones.
Howard Shore.
I know that's why I said it. I wanted to say
Indiana Jones actually does have one of those soundtracks, but the other one I would think is Lost Treasure. No,
I would say if you want to go for me, again, I've owned all the Indiana Jones soundtracks. I always remember a lot from Temple of Doom when it comes to those soundtracks. There's a lot of Temple of Doom tracks that stand out. As well.
And
American-
like
and
Jaws,
Last
most
Crusade.
people only think of the one song. Like John Williams, even he normally falls into that pitfall where he does an exceptional one track. But Star Wars and I think Howard Shore here are the two main exceptions of a near perfect soundtrack across the board that
Because it brings every
massively
scene
remember.
to life,
Mhm.
and they're memorable. You know them, and
National Treasure.
And
National Treasure has a good soundtrack.
I can't remember a single track from National Treasure. And
I love both of those movies, and I can't think of a single track.
I don't know them by name, but I can name them when I hear them.
But Howard Shore nails it. I'm still going to say John Williams is king because he did it with 6 movies. He did it in 6.
Oh, the Star Wars ones are a next level.
Because
the Star Wars ones are
you
not
can
comparable.
put everything, and yes, they're
Duel of
Howard
the
Shore.
Fates.
That's why John Williams is the GOAT, but Howard
Absolutely.
Shore, he's up there in a competition for number 2,
I
definitely.
don't, what's going to happen the day when we lose John Williams?
I mean, he's tried to retire like 7 times.
Well,
in the
I mean,
last
like
decade.
to the point that he can't come
doesn't-
back,
we-
kind of lose.
Well, it doesn't matter because he hasn't, to me, since it's been a long time since he's done anything.
I'd say Harry
memorable for
Potter
me.
was his last good one. Like,
Yeah, it's been
all-timer.
it's been a while. So I mean, John Williams hasn't produced anything that adds to what he's done for me in a long time. So
his legacy's complete.
His legacy's it's complete. He doesn't need to do anything more. And when he goes, we will all pay tribute. That's
Absolutely.
what we do.
What
We pay
will
tribute.
happen is okay. Where's Conan fire it up? I didn't touch.
You're
nothing.
breaking up. You're breaking up.
Yeah, I know Conan turned on for some reason.
Try again.
I'm trying to
you're,
kill it.
you're okay now. You're okay now.
Yeah, you're good.
I think I know where you're going to go with this. Mustang, but go ahead and finish your thought. I think I know where you're going to go, though.
What's going to happen is we're seeing the turn of Hollywood getting back to, well, getting away from the wokeness. And when you get away from the wokeness, you get producers, directors, writers, people that will elevate the person making the music and say, this is what I need. And you'll get actual musicians coming back into it that create great music.
I'm going to back you up with 2 examples, and I think you're definitely going to know one of them. First one I'm going to do is the outside is the guy doing the score for Picard season 3 right now. They said, "Give me Jerry Goldsmith," and he gave us Jerry. He honored the tone of Jerry Goldsmith, and the music in Picard season 3 is awesome. And Mustang, I know you'll agree on this one, and Jeremy, you will too, because and we all played it. Yeah, Hogwarts Legacy. The guy they got to do Hogwarts Legacy, he echoed John Williams in that.
Yeah.
Yes.
He captured the sound of John Williams, and the soundtrack at Hogwarts Legacy is beautiful. Beautiful soundtrack.
What I'm just scared of is, are we going to get to a point where all we're talking about is the past? Are we never going to get a new sound? Are we never going to get a new
Yes, we will.
orchestra that
We will.
we're
We
gonna
will.
just-
Yeah,
We will.
we're gonna
It's
fall
been a
in love with?
while.
It's not going to come from Hollywood, though. It's going to come from us.
Yeah.
The Iron Age. It's gonna one of us, and not by us I mean those all involved in the Iron Age. We're gonna get to a point where we produce something, and somebody comes on board that has a sound that's gonna be perfect for it, and it'll catch fire.
Yeah.
I mean, as someone who's just writing a book, it's not going to be me because I'm just writing books.
Right.
But it might be somebody who is producing something visual, whether it be animated or live action. They'll find a music thing that'll be there. But for other stuff, it's all going to come from our end. It's not going to come from Hollywood anymore because they gate kept us all out.
I pray that it's an orchestra because I love orchestras.
I love orchestras.
Where it's going to come from? Where it's going to come from is YouTube. There are so many great creators that are doing great sounds on YouTube. Stuff that takes you. There's the Enchanted. Oh, one of them.
We're losing you. We're losing you.
You're losing you again.
Hello.
Again.
Yeah, we can hear you, but you're already
static. You're bathing in it.
No, it's not me. It's Cox. Clearly again.
Yeah.
But if you've got, can you still hear me?
We can hear you. It's just very sketchy.
Okay, that's Cox.
Okay.
Blame Cox. Mustang blames Cox because that's the problem. Cox.
Well, I just want to throw in, you'd mentioned it, Adam. We can't have a conversation about the greatest composers of all time without giving Jerry Goldsmith a top 3 position.
He's in there.
And Murray Gold from Doctor Who.
And Murray Gold. Yeah. Well, these are guys who were in the conversation of you're in that because you've given us they give us memorable stuff. And it's basically, you say, when somebody is composing a score, it's especially for a series that has a history, a tradition. It's you're doing, let's say, Harry Potter, because if they make a new Harry Potter series, yes, they own all that music, but they're probably gonna have to come up with some new stuff. They're gonna go to somebody. I say they go to the guy who did Hogwarts Legacy. Give me something fresh.
Oh, you saw that headline.
Williams. What?
They're in talks to make a Harry Potter TV series.
Yes, Jeremy, I did a video on it this week.
Wait, you did?
Yeah.
Yes, Jeremy.
I've been all over the place. Okay, I didn't see that.
It didn't do much, but I did a video on it. It was one of my first videos of the week. No, but it's okay.
I just saw that today, so
I'll punish you later somehow.
She's gonna like that.
Punish me harder, Daddy.
Oh, all right, I'm just gonna.
No, because he's got Saban to deal with now, and she'll just kick his butt.
I will take it.
You got a pretty mouth.
Yeah,
you got a pretty mouth. Anyway,
I will get Shaban to love me. Not in that way.
They're gonna get people like the guy who did Hogwarts Legacies. When they have to make new tracks, if the show comes to fruition and they go, they're gonna do new stuff. You get that guy. He knocked it out of the park on Hogwarts Legacy. I don't know why I don't hire him. He has the right tone of John Williams. For Picard, you got a guy who can echo Jerry Goldsmith. For if they ever made good Doctor Who again, echo Murray Gold. I mean, it's all right there.
We're getting off topic from
that means we're
that's what we know.
The more this works, that means we're done. And I'm just trying to
wind about Hogwarts Legacy and stuff, and what we're on right now. I mean, God of War Ragnarok, not spoiling it, but that does have a beautiful soundtrack.
Which, do you know who composed it? Do you know who composed the Ragnarok soundtrack? The same guy who did Rings of Power.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Barry McCreary. That's fascinating because the Rings of Power soundtrack is utter shit.
Well, and he did something else recently that was actually really good too. Like, he is fully capable of multiple great soundtracks.
Well, let's just wind this up and get out of here. Is that more Amazon's fault than his fault then?
I think it's probably more Amazon's fault because you also take a look at the guy who made the DK rap. He also did GoldenEye.
I think the DK rap is amazing, and no one can tell me not.
Well, it's amazing.
We'll talk about that tomorrow on Roundtable, and we discuss Super Mario Bros. But with that said, we as JB said, we ended 5 minutes ago. So let's
we did.
Let's get our scores. I went first last week since Jed wasn't here last week. Jed, drop us your score for Two Towers.
Before I do that, I want to add that Bear McCreary, he also did Witcher Blood Origin. So he
again
doesn't have a
we
good
blame
track record.
Netflix? We blame
Jed, you go
that's
to
a
hell
conversation
that.
for another time. What's up with Bear McCreary? He can produce good shit on God of War Ragnarok. That's a video game. Maybe it's a different situation on a video game.
Maybe if it's a different
people.
industry and different
And
ideas
you
are going
start
through.
working for these horrible streaming companies, and it's a totally different thing. And maybe they note him to death, if that's possible when composing a score.
It is, and I think they have. I think they listen to it and they go, "That's not what we want. Do this." They think they know more than he does.
Yeah. All right. So, Jed, your score.
Well, this will actually, again, Two Towers is my least favorite of the three movies. So as a result, it gets my lowest score of 9.5.
Ooh.
Okay. Okay.
I adore these movies. I think it's near perfection. It's like having to choose your favorite child.
Last week we all 9.5 across the board for Fellowship last week. So,
well, that tells you what I think of Fellowship and Return of the King.
Yeah, it's going to say something. Jeremy.
So this is my personal favorite out of all of them. And honestly, this is possibly one of my favorite movies ever. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to give it that 10.
Jeremy gives it the 10. All right. Mustang.
8.
Flat 8. We know why. You made it clear why.
Oh, it could be a 7.5 depending on the day.
Okay.
You're just a hateful individual.
No, I have to specify as somebody that it is a 10 for me to watch anytime, anywhere, but there's too many scenes in here that are against the book, too many scenes that take away from the enjoyment because they're too much of let's have some interaction to make the fans happy instead of staying.
That is a fair point. We disagree
the elves
on that,
definitely fall into that category.
It's a fair point from the book lover perspective. So I agree with your perspective, even though at the same time I disagree with it. But then that's fine. I'm gonna give it 9.7 because it's my favorite of the three. I gave 9.5 to Fellowship, but the only reason it drops points is because I feel all the Frodo stuff drags it down because I have problems connecting with Frodo. That's why. And I'm always out of it when those scenes are in, and then I'm back in when everything else is happening and having a good time. So that's it. With that said, we are done. I want to thank the boys for being here this week. We'll see how things shape up for next week. We will be back on, what is it? What is that? April 15th?
April 15th.
Because the
14th day.
Because the 14th, actually, the 18th is tax day now. They changed it. I know because I'm helping my mom with her taxes, sending some stuff out.
Taxes.
Well, we know it's 15th because on the 14th is Return of the King back in theaters for their anniversary. So that's why we scheduled this whole series of Saturday Night Drive-Ins to lead up to coincide with Return of the King being back in theaters. Hopefully next Saturday, Gary won't decide to do a stream and steamroll us like we did another time we tried to cover something. I'm fully prepared for that to happen. And if it does, I hope you watch us on the replay for that one. Either way, guys, thanks for joining us. Chat, we loved you again. We know you guys had a good time. You were chatting away, catching us when we fall on stuff and giving your own thoughts. We'll see you guys next week. And until then, everybody, take it easy. Have a good night or day wherever you may be. And if you're watching the replay, hit that like button, leave a comment, and we will see you next time. Until then, take it easy. Good night, everybody.
Chevron 1, coded.
For my ally is the Force, and the powerful ally it is. Life creates it, makes it grow.
You failed your hunt. I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
Cry havoc, and let's set the dogs of war.
Chevron 2 is coded.
Conan, what is best in life? Crush your enemies, see them driven before you, to hear the lamentation of your women.
It's all in the reflexes.
Well, also said you're heavy into martial arts, Tai Chi and all that killer stuff. I suppose we have to register you as a lethal weapon.
Chevron 3 encoded.
And somebody ought to belt you in the mouth. But I won't. I won't. The hell I will.
Chevron 4 encoded.
Do you expect me to talk? No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die.
Chevron 5 encoded.
You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Chevron 6 encoded.
Not for while you can, monk boy.
Back off, man. I'm a scientist.
You shall not pass!
I thought I'd die fighting side by side with Al.
What about side by side with a friend?
A day may come when the courage of men fails, when we forsake our friends and break all bonds of fellowship. But it is not this day.
Chevron 7 is locked.
And we're clear. Great show, guys.
I hope my Jed's gay